Welcome to Tales from the Switch Vault, where I, Jim, look back at some of the weird and wonderful games from the Nintendo Switch. This time I rescue Shield Knight and Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. The title has a long history. It was originally released as Shovel Knight on Nintendo 3DS and Wii U alongside PC in 2014. It then came to PlayStation 3, 4 and PS Vita in 2015 alongside the Xbox One, before finally making the jump on launch day in March 2017 on the Nintendo Switch. Seen as the indie game for the launch of the console, the Treasure Trove package included the now renamed original in Shovel of Hope, alongside the follow-ups in Plague of Shadows and Spectre of Torment. The collection was completed with King of Cards and Shovel Knight Showdown in December 2019. Though it contains 4 very good games, I shall be mainly talking about the original Shovel of Hope. Here you play as Shovel Knight in a 2D platformer in a fantasy world, fighting through levels to take down evil knights in boss fights to save Shield Knight. The game has very solid platforming, all based around the shovel weapon. It's used as a melee weapon to attack enemies, as the dig slash side on, but at its most potent as basically being a pogo stick. Holding down, the player can shovel drop on enemies or items, bouncing as they go. It's particularly effective on bosses, easily allowing you to string together multiple hits. It's very clever and not only allows attacks but keeps you out of trouble. Starting on the world map, there are multiple levels spread out alongside the village and armor outpost, where you can meet NPCs and purchase upgrades. The game is built upon collecting golden gems to purchase upgrades such as health or magic. Beating a level or 2 usually opens up more of the map. The game has no life systems, which is a big tick for me. However, it follows in the lineage of Souls-likes. Instead of losing lives, you lose money that floats in the air when you died, and you have to go back to collect it. If you die again before grabbing the cash, then that money is now gone for good, and it's actually been replaced with other money that's been taken away from you. Actually quite a penalising thing, as you can grind through levels. Without the upgrades, it actually is quite hard. Fortunately, some are just given to you for free as you play. Right from the get-go, if you fall in a pit or hit some spikes, it's instant death. And it only goes on to get harder from there as you progress through the levels, with the addition of falling platforms, weird rainbow transport ones and new enemies. However, there are checkpoints dotted throughout the levels and are really well placed. Typically only expect 1 or 2, but there's quite a few, and these backstops make it much more accessible as a game. If that sounds too easy, you can destroy them for additional cash. However, if you die, it doesn't work anymore as a checkpoint. Overall, it's challenging but accessible. A major selling point of this title was to have that 8-bit pixel art style, in particular with the titular Shovel Knight. It's a great design and supposedly blue due to the NES colour palette, which had more hues of blue than any other. The game looks gorgeous. The background design particularly stand out. The stars at night with the gloom of the dark purple sky are really cool. It does have a limited colour palette compared to other games, but they went wild with what they can create here. Even in the levels, the designs really stand out. I love the submarine level Iron Whale. Also, the boss designs are some of the best. They really stand out and lean into their own unique abilities when you fight them. Very cool. The soundtrack was mostly composed by Jake Kaufman, a composer and sound designer. He's been working on games since 2000, with notable works being on the Shantae series, Contra 4, and Red Faction Guerrilla amongst many others. Known for his chiptune music, he has collaborated a lot with Yacht Club Games. The Shovel Knight soundtrack is such an earworm. Shoutouts to Strikes the Earth, it's an amazing tune. It's notable that the legendary Mega Man composer Manami Matsume also contributed 2 tracks to this game. The in-game sounds are great as well, with the burst of flames to the soothing ding of collecting gems. They do all kind of get a little crowded out by the music mind, but it's so good I can't really complain. Overall, it's an excellent take on retro platformers with modern additions, such as upgrades and checkpoints. It means you can hark back to those very difficult early games, but make them much more approachable and overall enjoyable for the modern audience. For cash, you can also upgrade your health and magic, which helps a lot, but it's the relics that make the boss fights manageable. These special items allow you to dash through items and enemies or throw up anchors high into the air to deal damage. Different suits and relics mean you can play to your own strengths, and that really helps make the playstyle your own. For instance, for those struggling, you can get the final guard armor that makes you drop half as much money upon death, or you can go for the Mail of Momentum one that stops you being hit back by enemies, but makes it harder to stop when you're moving around. It's very easy to change between suits and items as needed between levels. This game does need to be placed in context. These days we have a glut of modern takes on old series, such as Minut's take on Zelda, or Proteus's Doom-like. Back in 2014, this was still a relative novelty, what felt like an 8-bit NES title released in the modern age. The success here paved the way for countless other indie studios to make their own takes. In Shovel of Hope, you fight a load of bosses, but you actually play as some of them in the other titles. This is so damn cool. Imagine beating Elden Ring and then continuing on as Melania or Margaret. Not only does it flesh out the backstory and get to know the characters more, but it takes the main mechanics and drastically alters the playstyle. For instance, Plague Knight throws bombs and uses that attack as a double jump. I cannot wait to get through the rest of the DLC. Speaking of that, what a package! I've mainly talked about the first game, Shovel of Hope, which can be completed in about 6 or so hours, and actually has a New Game Plus mode. It can be purchased separately, but I would recommend the full Treasure Trove package. It's more expensive, but actually regularly on sale. In fact, with the additional DLC, it got a price rise back in 2019, which is an understandable move for all the time and money that's gone into it. Treasure Trove includes Plague of Shadows, Spectre of Torment and King of Cards campaigns, alongside the fighting game in Shovel Knight Showdown that also has a story mode as well as multiplayer fighting. Altogether it's about 20 hours of content, which is really good for this package. Yacht Club Games is a standout studio in the indie scene, founded by former Way Forward director Sean Velasco. Based in California, they started out in March 2013 with a Kickstarter campaign to get Shovel Knight made. The aim was for $75,000 with several stretch goals. Within the month they easily hit over $300,000 and thus went to make the additional DLC for it. I've previously talked about how opaque video game studios and publishers are, so it's really refreshing to see a full breakdown from Yacht Club Games on their products. For instance, Shovel of Hope cost them $1.4 million and took 6 people 14 months to make it. For all the games within Treasure Trove, it totaled 110 months, 16 people and $9 million. And it's really interesting, because when you think of indie, your mind goes to a solo developer on a tiny budget, so it's sobering to see these sky-high costs way back when, let alone what it would cost now. Shovel Knight of course has become their mascot, featuring spin-off games such as Shovel Knight Dig, as well as playable guest appearances in many other series such as Runner 3 and Blaster Master Zero, alongside an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and an actual amiibo made for it. More recently, Yacht Club Games has started to publish games such as Cyber Shadow, and have the top-down Zelda-inspired Mina the Hollow in production, which I am highly excited for. Shovel Knight is actually due for an enhanced DX version 2, including 20 playable characters, save states, rewinds and cheats, among many other new features. Shovel of Hope was nominated for DICE Handheld Game of the Year, but won the Game Awards Best Independent Game in 2014, scoring a sensational 91 on Metacritic. Treasure Trove is one of the highest rated games on the Switch, and it's gone on to sell just under 3 million copies in total across all platforms as of 2019. I can't believe I sat on this title for so long. I only really played it properly a couple of weeks before the Switch 2 launched. It was a classic case of me not meeting the game and its mechanics. Leaning into the checkpoints and just ensuring you got there made the stress of platforming way easier. Then realising that the shovel drop attack is so overpowered made it far easier, making many more attacks a breeze to get past. I have few complaints, to be honest. Instant death for bottomless pits is fair enough, but the spikes feel a little excessive, though they make sense when they're on the walls of the ceilings. It's a show don't tell kind of a game, though a little more help understanding at the beginning would go a long way in my opinion. The levels are a great length, and it's easy to pick up and play one just before bed. I loved the penultimate multi-boss fight at the end, really well balanced with a couple of item drops. The order of bosses seems to be randomised, but you take all you learn to take them down. The final boss fight is a little weird to start with, first time you team up with another character, but satisfying enough and not too many stages. Overall, just a great game that is worthy of all the plaudits. I look forward to a proper sequel. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more weekly Nintendo Switch video game essays, and comment below which Shovel Knight boss is your favourite. Right, I'm going to throw myself straight into Plague Knight.